All right, so for our system of inequalities, for example, 2, we had 2x plus 3y and then we had greater than or equal to, and it was 30. All right, and our second inequality was just x plus y. And we had greater than 15. All right, and you can notice here that Desmos, if you were watching there, was putting the lines in different colors for us so we can easily see each inequality individually, but we can also pretty much tell where the shading is going to overlap for us since we're working with a system here. Note that I did not change anything from the last example, so the settings are still the same, and you can see that down here in the corner is where we really want to pretty much be focusing our attention because the numbers here are not nearly as big as that first example. So first thing I'm going to do is click on that wrench, and I'm going to change our X and Y interval so that it's a little bit smaller in this case. And if I look here, looks like the graph is currently going up by tens. So I'm thinking if we go a max of 30 for each X and Y axis, we should be able to see exactly what we need. All right, and let's close that out. There we go. Now, some things to keep in mind here, and actually let me slide this over so we can see that other shaded region that's down here, because this lighter green would be just the shading for the green line versus the blue shading would be just for the blue, and then this kind of darker green would be the overlap. Now, interestingly enough with this one, is that we talked about finding solutions with our first example. In this case, when we're working with word problems, the other thing that you have to keep in mind is that solutions to the inequalities, there's obviously infinitely many, but because we have some context here, we're talking about, if we write in our variables from the other piece, we had X was bracelets and Y was earrings. Obviously, there are some places that as we look here, where it's not really possible for us to talk about that as reference to the number of bracelets and the number of earrings, specifically talking about things down here in the shaded region. And if I move this over again a little bit over here in the shaded region, why might that be? Well, hopefully you were thinking that obviously in those two sections that I highlighted, it's because there's going to be negatives there. And obviously we're not going to be talking about, a negative number of bracelets or a negative number of earrings. So while those areas are solutions to the system algebraically, they're not technically solutions out of context because of the word problem that we're dealing with here. So again, you can pick, depending on how the question's asked, in this case, you could pick any random point. So maybe 15, 15 out here, or let's see, maybe 15, 10. So 15 bracelets and 10 earrings, or, you could pick a point on the x-axis, 25 earrings and 25 bracelets rather, and 0 earrings, or up here, 20 earrings is the y and 0 bracelets. Any of those points would be technically solutions. What might another not so great example be to use as far as the solution in this case because of the context? Again, hopefully you were thinking in this case, like obviously there's points that would fall between. So like right here, this is 10 earrings, but it would be 12 and a half bracelets. Why doesn't that really work? Well, I don't know about you, but I've never bought half of a bracelet or seen half of a bracelet unless you're talking about one that snapped apart or something. That's not really a solution in context. That's not something that Sarah would sell. So, obviously there are a ton of solutions. I can grab this screen and keep on scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and find points upon points where, there would actually be a solution here. But at certain points, it's not going to contextually make sense, because obviously there's other constraints here, whereas, she can only make so many bracelets and earrings based on the amount of time that she has, that kind of thing. So, like she could sell 1 million earrings and 1 million bracelets, but would that be feasible for her current life? I don't know. But really what we want to stray for sure away from are negative numbers in this case, because it doesn't make sense. And then any partial or decimal values, because you can't sell half of a bracelet or half of a set of earrings. Again, we want to be careful because there is a dash line here. So any points on the dash line would not work. And then the other thing to keep in mind is that any of the points in the blue region or in the lighter green region are technically only solutions for one or other of the inequalities. So when you're taking a look at questions like this, they could ask you any number of things. They could ask you to simply write the inequalities. They could ask you to graph. They could ask you to interpret the graph. So again, where's the shaded region and where are the solutions at? Given a list, check all that apply here. Any number of things, or tell a solution that doesn't work, that kind of thing. So just be prepared, and really, as you're working on the IXL today, practice the writing from words to inequality, because that tends to be a struggle, and reach out if you need any help.